While many airlines around the world have been struggling amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Malaysia Airlines' troubles have been ongoing since the 2010s. It's been a topic I've touched upon on several videos in the past, but this video will highlight the renewed efforts to rehabilitate the airline with a new restructuring plan that this time would hopefully turn around the situation of the airline. The renewed efforts to rehabilitate Malaysia Airlines comes as the parent company Malaysia Airlines Group received clearance from the High Court of Justice of the United Kingdom with a sanctioned deal between the airline group and most of the aircraft leasers dealing with Malaysia Airlines. The deal will allow Malaysia Airlines to reduce its liabilities by around 15 billion Malaysian ringgit, along with other moves including additional funding and plans to reduce further costs. As part of this restructuring plan, the Malaysia Airlines Group majority shareholder, the Malaysian State Sovereign Fund Khazanah Nasional, will inject around 3.6 billion ringgit that will allow the operations of the airline to continue through 2025. For its part, Malaysia Airlines Group has stated that it took decisive actions to reduce the costs and preserve cash, among other things, to help transform the business to weather the current crisis, given the situation has been made worse with the border closings and the groundings of aircraft. As previously mentioned, I have done several videos related to the topic of the struggles of Malaysia Airlines in recent years, and for its part, the Malaysian government has contributed greatly to help the airline continue operations. Over the last few years, the airline has received around 28 billion ringgit in government assistance, as the coronavirus pandemic of 2020 and its continuation in 2021 is among the concerns that have been piling for Malaysia Airlines Group. The airline experienced an all-time low in passenger traffic around September of 2020. It got to the point in October 2020 when the existence of Malaysia Airlines was put in jeopardy when Khazanah Nasional was considering to stop funding the airline group. The condition of this to happen was if creditors such as the leasers do not accept the new rehabilitation plans. This was the subject of scrutiny from some leasing companies, accounting for 70% of the airplanes and engines leased to the group, calling it, quote, inappropriate and fatally flawed back in October. Seems now the tide has changed in favor of Malaysia Airlines and it now can proceed with it to get itself out of this long recurring situation, but more importantly to be profitable in the future as the flag carrier of Malaysia. As the financial situation of Malaysia Airlines has been noted in media reports over the past decade, there has been a previous restructuring of Malaysia Airlines, which was started in late 2014. As we have learned, it hasn't really panned out the way they have wanted it. So far, the airline has failed to return to profitability and has went through several CEOs, though there has been more stability in recent years regarding this position. Looking to the future, this new rehabilitation plan is spearheaded by Malaysia Airlines Group CEO Isham Ismail, who is a former Malaysia Airlines pilot. In a recent report by Edge Markets Malaysia, Ismail was quoted saying that Malaysia Airlines will be looking to establish itself as a, quote, leading global business travel group, which will diversify its business segments and subsidiaries in the group's portfolios. In the report, he stated, quote, we seek to expand Malaysia Airlines Group involvement into other travel-related products and services beyond flights, which will go a long way in helping our customers complete their end-to-end travel experience. Our geographical advantage, award-winning solutions and services, plus signature Malaysian hospitality will also help us in diversifying our revenue stream by minimizing the need for us to rely on the heavily competitive air travel industry for survival. This sounds ambitious and actually similar to what AirAsia is doing right now with its digital businesses and other ventures. Now it seems like Malaysia Airlines will be competing with AirAsia on ventures in both on the air and on the ground. This would be the case unless the speculated merger between AirAsia Group and the Malaysia Airlines Group does happen, which has been a proposal that has been reported to help both Malaysia-based airline groups survive this ongoing crisis. This does have some of its upsides, but also the downsides given that both airline groups have differing types of operations, and more importantly, the politics involved, especially given in the case of Malaysia Airlines. That proposed merger has been one idea that has been floated around to save both airlines, but more importantly to continue the operations of the flag carrier Malaysia Airlines. Another proposal that seems to be shelved was a plan to use the airline operating certificate of Malaysia Airlines subsidiary Firefly for domestic operations, which would involve the transferring of some of the Malaysia Airlines Boeing 737s to the subsidiary. We'll likely see more proposals like this and more with Malaysia Airlines as it balances the subsidiaries and the deployment of aircraft in the domestic market. Meanwhile, on the international network side, it won't be surprising if they do some further cuts and not return to destinations that were previously served. However, I think the biggest issue comes in the ownership of the airline, whether it should continue to receive government support or to become a private entity. Doing so will remove the state-owned status of the airline, and this seems favorable given the state of Malaysia's government, which would want to prioritize the recovery efforts of the economy of Malaysia. Though it's also need to be said that following the restructuring in 2014, the Malaysian government has been hesitant to give up the stakes in Malaysia Airlines unless it could find a stakeholder that they are confident in to lead the airline into the future. After all, losing Malaysia Airlines to a possible bankruptcy and shutdown could send major shockwaves not just among the Malaysian aviation industry but also the overall economy of the country. After doing several videos based on the history and the current situation of Malaysia Airlines, I do personally prefer that Malaysia would prioritizing relinquishing control of the airline, which would allow the Malaysian government to focus on other state affairs. This could provide more of an opportunity for ambitious local firms to take control of the airline and hopefully turn it around in their vision. These efforts could be helped with possible foreign stakeholders and investment, especially that the airline has attracted proposals for strategic partnerships from Air France-KLM and Japan Airlines. These firms can't control majority ownership per Malaysian foreign ownership laws, but could own up to 49% of the airline group. This would all be dependent on how much the local firms would be willing to give up a certain amount of control. At the end of the day, the current situation will involve Khazanah Nasional of Malaysia making the final decision as to what happens in the future of Malaysia Airlines. With this latest round of funding being given to the airline, this is just a new effort to restructure the airline to hopefully become profitable. The next few steps in the next few months will be crucial to the future of the flag carrier of Malaysia. I definitely would love to hear your take on the new efforts to restructure and rehabilitate Malaysia Airlines. Though in the meantime, thank you for watching. This has been Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel scene in the Asia Pacific. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.